My name is Monika, and I will be graduating this May of 2017. I'm studying environmental engineering, and next year I'll be working for an engineering consulting firm in the Twin Cities, doing water treatment plant design, water well design, and different water systems. So I'm really excited to do that, and that's back in my hometown. So those are my plans for next year. I always really liked working with numbers, and I was fascinated by unanswered problems in the world. So I wanted to initially do civil engineering because I had an interest in designing buildings. But as I started looking into the C's department here at Notre Dame, I learned about this new and upcoming major environmental engineering. And what fascinated me about it especially was the fact that there was basic science and engineering that guided this degree, but there was also a lot of questions of what's the right design for this community, what's the right design for this water supply. So I like the idea that there was a human component to it and also a component that's unknown with every single time you design for something. And I suppose, if you're designing a building or a bridge, it's going to be different depending on the specifications of what the people are looking for, but I was especially drawn to environmental engineering because of this really personalized design that would be done in every scenario. I think at some point I just had to decide on a major, so this was the one that appealed to me the most, and I kind of kept going with it, and I don't regret it, so I'm happy where I'm at, and that's pretty much all how the story goes. I don't really have an incredible story as to why I suddenly decided to do it, but it seems like there was a natural draw to doing this degree, and I think I'm going to really enjoy it, so I'm looking forward to it. Last summer I did an internship with the company that I'll be working for this year, and it was my first time doing actual design work. And one thing that I was incredibly surprised by was the willingness of my coworkers to teach me, and starting my first day and them saying, "We know you're smart and we know you don't know anything." And starting off with that very welcoming atmosphere and this incredible willingness to stop what they're doing to say, "I know that this is something that we do automatically, but you've never seen this before." I was really impressed by what kind of a community that could be, and I worked for a small company, and I thought that was just a very rewarding way to work. And so within that work, I learned that something I've been really thinking about lately about engineering and the role of our faith is living through the mundanity of some of this work and sitting down for hours at a time to hash through a specific measurement of pipes, counting out how many pipes are in a water treatment plant, and that taking hours and hours on end, but sort of finding this humble meaning in that work that you're doing and learning to sort of lean in on the purpose of that more than just, "Oh, I'm excited to count these numbers," but finding that sort of subtle faith-driven purpose in everything we do. So I really enjoyed sort of the small tasks that ended up contributing to this big design. So I really enjoyed working in the industry, and that's why I'm especially excited to go back into it as a full-time worker and just seeing how to navigate it. But it seemed like there were a lot of opportunities to just live my faith in an everyday work sphere. And we hear about that a lot. As a kid, you're going to Mass, and the priest will always say, "Oh, don't forget to live out your faith at work." And I think some of the adults kind of shuffle in their chairs, and I think it can be as imbued as just the way that you wake up in the morning to go to work. It doesn't have to be, having a conversation about the Catholic Church every single time you are at lunch with a coworker. That's probably not as effective, but sort of finding this deeper purpose every day that you go to work and you sit down at your desk, and the genuinity with which you approach wanting to talk to your coworkers. So it's exciting, and I now kind of see where that motivation comes from when we're encouraged to do that. And it's a little bit easier here at Notre Dame because most people are Catholic, or most people are kind of operating under an initial, role of faith. But it's exciting, and I'm very hopeful about the experience of being a Catholic engineer in the industry, and I think it'll be a cool new journey. So I was raised Catholic in the Twin Cities, Minnesota, and I grew up actually going to a Polish parish. So my faith was expressed in a different language than I went to school with, which was a really interesting experience. And around high school, I went to World Youth Day in Madrid, which is an enormous gathering of Catholic young people from all across the world. And I had this experience there of realizing the international presence of the faith in every country, and started kind of stirring those questions of, oh, maybe my faith is a part of my real life, not my Polish-American upbringing cultural life, that this is actually something that I make my own. So I think going to World Youth Day was a big experience of that, or at least maybe it started my thoughts about my personal experience of faith versus just a communal way that I've been raised. So I think that's kind of where it started, and from that point on I met some more friends, had some older mentors in the faith, and just realized that this is something that I want to be the priority in my life. So since then, that's kind of how it's been going, and eventually my eyes were drawn towards Notre Dame, and was excited about the possibility of going to the Catholic University. I had gone to public school my whole life, so I was excited about the idea of my faith and my education being in the same place and part of the same mission. So that's why I decided to come here, and I'm just still doing it, so I think it's worth it. I think especially, so I haven't done enough industry experience, I think, to have maybe a more reflective view on my experience of faith and work, besides the fact that I'm excited to continue to try that. But I think in regards to as an engineering student, there are many classes that we take that are very theoretical or general, and there are many moments where I, during my years here, felt, what is the point of learning this derivation? What is the point of understanding this? What's the point of doing this entire homework assignment that's going to take me till whatever hour of the night to finish? I think that's like such an opportunity for our faith to be challenged, and I definitely haven't done that perfectly. There's the moment where you're working with your teammates on a project and you're frustrated, and that's where that virtue of patience and fortitude is really tested. And we stumble, but it's, we live in this daily lifestyle where we're constantly being challenged, especially I think in an interpersonal way with other people, to live our faith. And that misconception that engineers work in isolation is it's hilarious that people think that, because I think more often than not we have to work on our communication, and it's not simply a matter of being able to explain yourself. It's a deeper level of that. It's the ability to sit down with someone who you're working on a team with, and when you're sleep deprived and you're hungry and you don't really understand how to finish this project, to have the grace to be able to just patiently work together. And that's been a total struggle all these years. I'm not perfect at it at all, but it's been a scenario with which I've been challenged in a good way. Which I don't think I expected going into engineering. I just sort of thought, I'll do my schoolwork and then I'll do my faith, but I think the faith is especially tested in a good way, in a personal way, when we're doing all of our assignments and studying. So my day-to-day life as an engineer usually starts between 8 or 9 in the morning, and I currently live with 3 close friends of mine, and we're all actually in a choir together that sings for the Sunday Mass. So it's this little microcosm faith community, which is really nice. But yeah, usually I'll wake up and start my day with breakfast in class and kind of work through my day. Something that I really love as a part of my faith life is having specific meals with people that help keep me accountable on my faith. So I have them as regular people that I see throughout the week. And trying to catch Mass during the week at least once, somewhere spontaneously, depending on which assignments I have due on what day usually. But I think the faith is lived out especially in those transitional moments between going from one class to another, or at the beginning of the day. It's an especially, I would say, particular time because it's sort of sets the tone for your whole day. So it's something I've really been working on, is right when I start my day, saying, okay, I know what my purpose of my day is today. I'm going to live my faith in whatever tasks I have to take care of. So that's a challenge to start the day with, and trying to not snooze for half an hour is part of that, but it's all part of that lifestyle, I'd say. So. I think there are many times when I felt extremely overwhelmed with my schoolwork, and the one thing that I thought would be best in those moments of being overwhelmed would just be to power through and not stop, to just take a break. And I think very often I wouldn't pray in those moments, and I would just sort of spiral into this feeling of, I feel like I'm acting like a robot. What is the meaning of this really difficult work that I'm putting myself through? And I think the advice that I would give to people is it's never a waste of time to just take half an hour to go and pray, or take half an hour to go on a walk to the grotto. Whatever that is, just sort of recentering the meaning of why we're doing this work, I think is so essential. And that was, I think, a big mistake that I made, that very often when I felt overwhelmed, I wouldn't go and pray. And I would just sort of end the day wondering, why do I feel so empty, even though I accomplished so many assignments? So being willing to just assert that and know and believe that taking time to pray will be good for me. And being not so utilitarian with my time. I think that's a big thing that I did too much of when I was here. And acknowledging that you can't really compartmentalize your faith life and your school life. There should be time for just prayer, there should be time for just schoolwork, but that those should be really one together. And I think that's something that I really struggled through doing. So that would be my advice to people. Well, I think I really like that you're doing this website and pursuing these questions, because I think as a high schooler who was discovering her faith, and as a college student who wanted to pursue her faith, I think very often I wondered, are there any other engineers that are asking this question of what is the deep role of faith in my future career as an engineer? And is it disconnected? Is it just I go to work and do my work and I pray on my own time? And I think that this is a great resource, that these videos and these interviews of people who are actually living this is going to be so encouraging for people, especially high schoolers who are really serious about their faith, but might say, well, I'm going into something that's completely engineering. I don't have room to take a theology minor, and the point of this is that it's okay. Like, you can do a full engineering degree and go and live your faith at the same time. So I'm excited to watch the other videos of the people you've been interviewing.